Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. The show is produced and broadcast from the Portland, Oregon area. And for your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like my two guests here tonight, and like most of you out there, about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about whatever it is we have decided to talk about. And we'll be talking about what's important on May 21st, 2018. What's important? And my guests tonight are Roberto Lovato and Joe Walsh, Lone Vet Joe Walsh. Thanks for coming on again, guys.
We're back.
You're back again, and
Yeah.
I never lose you, and it isn't too long till I have you back again because you're acutely aware of what's going on in government and our system of governments here in the Portland area and in this part of Washington, Oregon State, and sometimes it spills over into behavior in other communities in other parts of the country. And keeping our democracy alive and following in the footsteps of what our founding fathers had in mind. Social responsibility as an example, but I won't go on any further because you guys will talk about that and all kinds of other stuff as we get into it. All right, now, after all this time, you have been on so many times, we've done a bio on each of you, so this time we can do an abbreviated version so we have enough time to talk about the important stuff that you got to talk about. And by gosh, it's good to see you again. Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. So you know about me in my bio. I've done that 1,000 times, but I'm going to ask you guys some stuff about who you are. You ready?
Yes.
And as you know, if I ask you a question you don't want to answer, you can tell me to get lost. And I won't. I'll stay here and bug you anyhow. If I'd ask your best friend, Roberto, who is Roberto? What would your best friend say? Be your best friend. Roberto is what? Tell me.
Peace-loving.
Roberto is, be your best friend.
Yeah, well, Roberto is peace-loving.
Yeah, okay.
Generous.
Don't
dedicated to world peace.
Okay.
Dedicated to community. Just, responsible on how we get to a better place in our society and in the global world situation. I try to do as much good as possible that I can do. My wife and I give out money to certain groups to benefit young people. I think music is a great, important thing that we have, and that hopefully one day we'll have peace through music, because I think that's possible, because it's something that everybody can understand. I reached into my roots of my Mexican Spanish-Mexican heritage, so I've learned some stuff about that, and that sort of kind of drives me now, looking back into that, how I became myself, how I appeared, and what the circumstances were. So that historical content's pretty interesting to me.
And it shows in your eyes. Those things
Yeah.
you say about you, it shows in your face.
Well, that's we try to be real, is what I really believe, because I'm here now, and everywhere we are, from the moment we are there, and we're there for a reason. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So when and where were you born?
I was born October 13th, 1946 in Santa Barbara, California, which is Chumash territory. It's where the Chumash tribe lived.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Southern Californian.
All right. And you talked about your cultural national heritage to some extent. Do you have a religious preference nowadays? Do you have a religion or not?
No, really don't have religion, except that I do try to adhere to some Buddhist principles.
Okay.
You know, because I think that's the closest thing that I can come to.
That's also what
any
I'm
formal-
seeing in your eyes.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. And your formal education, you care to comment about that?
Well, I attended grade school and went through junior high, high school, junior college, and the University of California at Santa Barbara, all in the Santa Barbara area. And then I graduated from the University of Colorado at Boulder in 1973.
Are you a left winger?
Well, I consider myself a Latino hippie.
Okay, that's enough. Okay. Now what do you do to? Are you retired or you earn your keep anymore?
Well, I married a younger woman, and she works, and I'm retired. And we don't have kids, but we have dogs. I have 2 golden retrievers. So they're my partners. I chauffeur them around, and you know I do stuff like cook, shop, do some laundry. We have almost a half an acre where I live, and so I have to do some gardening work. I've let it go. In my peace activities, I let the house deteriorate for 10 years, so I have to get back and do some repair works.
The dogs still love you?
So, yes, they do. They greet me every time I leave, and every time I come back, it's like I've been gone forever. So, you know.
So you don't have any children on the political continuum. Are you off the end of the liberal side, or are you a Trump supporter? Where are you?
I don't. I'm pretty much what I myself call progressive, and pretty much a green person, you know, because I believe in, you know, that we affect the climate. We need to do something about that, because it's slowly sneaking up on us. Actually, it's speeding up, and we act like nothing's going wrong. So it's like we were joking a while. Trump goes to Mar-a-Lago for his retreats on the weekends. One day, Mar-a-Lago will be underwater.
I got a few.
You
people,
know, it's like, anyway.
I got a few people I know who will disagree with you, but
Yeah,
we'll have
but-
them on when it's time.
But
for
no, you know, I mean, sustainability, peace, all those good things that we need, good works,
Yeah. Love your beard.
and
man.
music. So,
You're not quite as handsome as Che Guevara, but that's one of the reasons I like your
well,
beard.
you know, I look at the appear in the mirror in the morning, and like my favorite thing is if you see yourself in the mirror in the morning, it's a good day because you're still here. And then you look at it and you say, who do I look like? Do I look like Tolstoy or General Grant? Or, I don't know. It's
You're all
like,
over
it
the
changes
goddamn
over because
guy.
it grows, right? So, and it changes colors sometimes. So, yeah. Anyway, fun loving is a needed thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Joking, because we were just joking. And he said, tell me something good. And I said, well, the sky it's blue and the sun's out and it's a nice day. And he said, no, tell me something good. And I said, that is good. We're breathing and functioning.
Yeah. So talking about when you see yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, I'm still here, someone told me a similar tale. He says, when I wake up in the morning, I look down at the foot of the bed, and if there's no tag on my big toe.
Oh, my God. That's kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, we're amongst friends here and stuff, so it's like being in the gathering of the community spirit that we're here with. It's always great because, you know, being next to this guy is like being next to an American hero. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. So he calls me and I said, you know, okay, we're going to Dr. Don.
Yeah. So shall we abandon you now? You got any heroes you want to mention? Anybody you look up to?
Oh, my God, there's so many I just can't even...
Name 2 or 3.
Oh, let's see.
Other than me and Joe.
Oh, wait. What's that? I'm having a moment now. Congresswoman that ran, Shirley Chisholm.
Chisholm, oh yeah.
And
yes,
the other
Shirley
woman, what
Chisholm.
was it, who turned down the Democrats in Alabama? Remember Fannie Lou Hamer?
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah.
Boy, you go back.
Well, all this peace stuff is based on those people, you know, and at the time, what I can't believe is that we're facing what we're facing now in contemporary times as far as going through those things in the 50s and 60s, you know, where people challenged, and now we still have to challenge. People of color still have to challenge where they live. You know, it's like people don't like even know who's living next door to them. So Professor, what's his name, from the professor that went to his house and was trying to get in because he had left his key, and the neighbors called the police because they didn't even know that he lived next door.
And they handcuffed him.
They said he was breaking in.
Yeah, okay.
So those are the times we're in now.
All right.
You know, it truly hurts me that
Yeah.
is happening. It shouldn't be, because we should be better people and be able to learn from all the mistakes we've made.
Well, we're going to need just 2 hours for what you've said so far, so we better
I
allow
told you
10
I
minutes
have 2 sleeping bags
for
in
the
the
long
car.
bet here.
Yeah.
Long bet, what you say?
I say, wow.
Yeah, that's rich. But let me ask you a few personal questions about who you are. If I would ask your best friend, what would your best friend say? Be your best friend.
He's,
Say, Joe is what?
complicated.
Yeah. We don't agree. We disagree
He's
with that.
complicated.
Uh-huh.
Has a temper.
Mm-hmm.
Believes in nonviolence, but has a temper. Full of contradictions. Spent 9 years in the Navy, objected to the Vietnam War, gave up a Navy career over it, been in the peace movement or trying to help people for about 48 years now. I was a chief union steward, a vice president of a local, a utility supervisor, grandfather, father, brother. I believe in equality, and those are not sugar words to me. People speak a lot of sugar words. They don't mean anything, but equality means a lot to me. That means you are equal to me, and if I don't treat you that way, then it's on me. So when I look in the mirror in the morning, one of the things that I say to myself is, what did you do yesterday to help? And what are you going to do today to help? Just help somebody. Get on the bus. Somebody needs something. Maybe they need a seat, or maybe they need a few dollars to get on the bus. Get up there and do that. You know, so simple. Then when you go to bed at night, you can say, I did something. Not great. It's not spectacular, but it's something. And then when I go to protest, and then when I confront politicians, I have the audacity to demand that they treat me as an equal. If I treat you like an equal, I can go and treat somebody else, and they have to treat me like an equal. And if we ever get to the point where we see each other as a little piece of God, can you imagine that? If I look at you and I say, Dr. Don, there's a piece of God in you. How would I treat you? Would I treat you badly? I don't think so. I have the phrase sugar words, you heard me use.
Yeah.
Politicians use them all the time. They're buzzwords. We used to call them buzzwords. But they're really sugar words. If you took them and you put them in hot water, it disappears. You can't find them. That's why I say sugar words. They have no value at all. It's what they do. So when the mayor of this city says that he stands to get everybody off the streets and in a safe place, and
In Portland, Oregon, you're talking
in
about.
Portland, Oregon here, then we hold him to that. We hold his feet to the fire, and we say, you cannot, in your budget, give the police officers $10 million and take away the passes for the students on the buses. You can't do that. Not in my city. And you're going to pay a price for it. And he's going to pay a price for it. Because everybody's going to know about it. And that's all we can do. I can only tell people what the politicians have done. And then it's up to them what they do. And my fear, the last election that we had here, that, for instance, Commissioner Fish got reelected because he went over 50%. 25% of the voters showed up. 25%. So what did he win? He won 60% of 25%. Not a very big number.
But doesn't he act like everybody elected him?
Yes. He will get all the perks. He will walk in there with his chest out. And the other day when I saw him, and by the way, let me say this straight out. I like Commissioner Fish. I don't trust him. I don't trust any politicians, but I like him. As a human being, I like him. But I put the blame on the voters. I don't put it so much on him. If you don't show up to vote, shut up. You have nothing to say. And I have a lot of friends that take the position, I'm not voting because it's all rigged and I'm not going to do it. And this is the way I protest is not voting. And I say, okay, fine, you can do that. Shut up. Don't tell me anything because you have nothing to say. You're not playing a game. You're going to sit at the table, put some money in the middle, or we call it skin in the game, or shut up. Sorry. That's where my temper comes in. I'm getting older, and my patience is getting shorter. And I look at life, and I look at what's going on here, and say, I don't really have the time to deal with people that still believe in our national anthem, and they stand up and they put their hands on their chest, and this country is totally opposite of what they think it is.
Why is that?
Why is that? Well, part of it is the voting thing. People are not involved.
It's based on.
I mean, if you walk down the street and you said to people, name me one Supreme Court justice, just one. How many do you think they don't even know what a Supreme Court justice is?
When did we stop teaching physics? I mean, civics rather. Okay.
I think it was by design. You know, if you go back, think about the Romans. What did the Roman authorities do? They built the Colosseum.
Entertain them.
And they entertained them. And they kept them busy. And the emperor stayed in power. As soon as he started screwing around with that Colosseum, off he went. Off with his head.
We better continue with the personal stuff for you. Yeah. So now tell me when and where you were born.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
I never knew it by how you sound.
I never lost my accent. Apparently, Bedford-Stuyvesant, that was the area
Yeah.
that I grew up in. And it was a magical place. It was just wonderful.
What year was that?
It was in the 40s and 50s. I was born in 42.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I went through the 40s and then 50s. I remember the end of the war. I remember the block parties. That's all I remember. I remember the whole block was in the street. Yeah. And they were dancing, and they were singing, and they were giving us ice cream, giving all the kids ice cream, giving us all kinds of desserts. We could have anything we want.
And you remember that?
I remember that. The end of the war. Yeah. It's my first memory that I can remember. 42, 45, I was what, 3? And so that was my first memory, and that's a great memory.
Yeah. Okay, then. Another question. Why were you born?
I think I was born to ask St. Peter the question of what the hell is going on? What is this? I think I was born. I was born because my parents wanted another child.
Yeah.
So I'm not the youngest. My sister is. And,
Were you Catholic?
oh yeah, I was in a seminary.
I knew there was something else wrong
Yeah,
with you,
I
too.
studied, I was
Yeah.
going to be a Capuchin priest. There's two ways to pronounce it, Capuchin and Capuchin. But if you're around the priest, you say Capuchin, because it's very Italian.
Were you an altar boy?
Yes, I was a
No,
great
you
altar
weren't
boy.
dedicated because you're supposed to have a hole in your chest from too many mea
Oh.
culpas.
Mea culpa. No, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea
Mea
maxima
maxima
culpa. Maxima
Intuivo
culpa.
adultari day.
Yeah.
I was an altar boy for years, but I gave that up years ago.
I love being an altar boy.
Yeah, me too.
I knocked down a piece of the church one night during devotions. We had to go, and the priest called me up, and he said, "Go open up some of these windows." And I had never opened up the top windows, and it was as high as your ceiling. And they had these long ropes on them.
Yeah.
To open, and you pull one rope, and that opened up the latch, and then you pull the other rope, and that kind of pulled the window open, and they went like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the window that I pulled went and broke, and glass went everywhere. And I'm standing there. I'm
You
saying,
shouldn't pull on it so hard.
St. Peter's really mad at me. I have this whole thing going with St. Peter.
You know what?
really
Why I
mad.
didn't like that?
What?
Because my knees hurt too much.
Oh, and yeah, the
Yeah.
praying. Yeah.
Yeah, my poor mother.
Yeah.
She, I'm the 12th child. And she was, if she wasn't sewing for out on
You're
her
the
singer-
12th?
I'm the baby. I'm the last of the Mohicans, yeah.
12?
Wow.
12, I'm the 12th child.
Really?
That's the apostles.
12's of the tribe, too.
So when I was born, Mama was old and all worn out, and she was either at a sewing machine with that pedal on the singer, or she was sewing for out, or she was in her rocking chair because she had allergies, and she had a prayer book on one arm and her rosary on the other. So I was pretty well indoctrinated into Catholicism, but I gave it up, and I'm still giving it up. But you know what I am
Oh,
now?
so did I.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on with you. Not going to talk about me anymore. A few words about your education. What kind of formal education did you have?
Well, I have a BA in psychology, and that's from a school in New York. And I went to mostly San Diego State. I spent like 3 years in San Diego State. And then I walked on the beach for a while and did nothing. I just walked on the beach. I went through a divorce, so I was really in not in bad shape, but just not, I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to walk on the beach. So I did that. Then I went back to New York and finished my education and came back and started working in a shipyard because I had the experience in the Navy of working in a shipyard.
Sure.
And then eventually I became a chief steward and then the local vice president and then a utility supervisor. And then I retired. I retired in 1995. So I've been out for a long time. That's what makes me so dangerous to the politicians, because they have nothing I want for me. I'm not there to ask for grants. I'm not there to ask for money. I want them to do their job. That's what I want. I want them to worry that we have people dying on the streets. And I want to feel that. You know when I feel that? When I go to the county. Because we monitor the county also on Thursdays. We go and we monitor their meetings. There are 5 women sitting on that commission. I think it's called the commission. Every one of them gives me the feeling that they worry, and they try. And that's the key word. If you try, I love you.
There's a city council, and then there's the county commissioners.
County commissioners,
Two governing
two
bodies.
totally different. And the city is within the county. So the county has some jurisdiction over the city, if you think about that. But they don't exercise it. The city has most of the say-so. When they want to do something, the city usually leads and the county follows. I don't know why that is, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
You always get the feeling that the mayor calls the shots and not the chairperson of the commission, which is Deborah Kafori. And she just won re-election.
Yeah, she's good.
And I like her. Actually, I like all five of them. But don't tell them I said that.
Do you have a wife, a husband, a boyfriend, a
I have
girlfriend,
I have a wife. We have a stepdaughter here in Portland.
Uh-huh.
And then she has two kids. Then I have a son that lives in California. So, and my oldest brother and oldest sister have passed. So I'm the oldest one. I broke the record at 75. That's the record in our family. So I'm 76 now. So I'm doing all right. I broke the mold. Which is interesting because I'm the one that's always in more trouble than anybody else.
Have you always been a tree hugger, a lefty, or
No.
you've been a right winger?
When I was in the Navy in 1968, I was sitting at a table with my oldest sister, and she was a tree hugger. And she was talking about the Vietnam War. And I was active military then.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, if we get out of the Vietnam War, I will take this uniform off. I will be so depressed, so disgraced. We have to win that war. Look at all the people that we've lost. We have to honor them. Okay, that's 68. 1970, I was protesting in front of the base I was assigned to. So I did a 180. I mean, a big 180.
What caused that 180?
Well, 68, we had the assassinations.
Yeah,
Okay.
a whole bunch of them.
We had the Pentagon Papers came out. We had Martin Luther King killed.
Yeah.
All right. If you had a brain in your head in 1968, 1969, 1970, and you didn't question what the hell they were doing in Washington and why, and why do we assassinate our what I would call holy men, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy. Why?
Gandhi, Jesus,
Gandhi.
all those people were killed. People who were.
So that turned me around, and I just said, this is crazy. And then I started to read, and I realized that war is a game. You know, there are people that play the game. It's just like a Monopoly game to them. You know, if you have a war and you're using armaments like we're doing in Syria right now, all those armaments have to be replaced. That's a lot of money. When Trump sent off his missiles, every one of those missiles was what, $100 million? I mean, billions of dollars, and for what? You know, so it changed me, and then I went. We were just talking about this. I went through this craziness of getting out of the Navy because I wrote a letter to the Chief of Naval Operations saying the war was crazy and we got to stop this. And as soon as I did that, I lost all my security clearances, and I was sweeping out a compound as an E6 in the Navy. Okay.
They busted you.
No, they just embarrassed me. So they had me sweep. I was like a sergeant in the Army. I was equivalent to a sergeant. The sergeants don't sweep. You know, E6s in the Navy don't sweep. So everybody was stopping and saying, why are you sweeping? So I started to tell them. And then pretty soon I had 3 or 4, and then I had 6. Then I had 10 people outside the gate. And then I said, oh, Jesus. So they gave me orders to Hawaii. True, yeah.
The method to your madness.
Yeah, it was just, yeah.
Let's continue on.
Anyway,
So that, how about you got any heroes you remember Maybe I think you mentioned a few already.
Oh yeah, Gandhi, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King.
How about Che Guevara? Do you go that far left? He was
No, I don't.
They killed him.
I know about him, and I know he was assassinated. But if you ask me about a hero, and I have nothing against him.
Of course.
He doesn't come to mind like Bobby Kennedy is right here. Martin Luther King is right here.
Yeah.
All right? And their words, I mean, right there. And I don't know.
How about Donald Trump? Is he, don't hit me. He can see that look.
Donald Trump is crazy. And it's really hard to understand that we have a person in the White House that has nuclear weapons and is crazy. If you watch him, he is totally, I mean, you can use fancy words, sociopath, and other words that would describe some of his behavior. Mine is just, he's crazy.
He's a narcissist, a personality disorder.
Yes. I mean, we can do all that, but it comes down to, for me, he's crazy. And he scares the hell out of me. I mean, I go to bed every night, not sure I'm going to wake up. Not because of my age, but because we have a crazy person in the White House. And the Republicans will do nothing. They're not doing anything. And the Democrats have no power. And if they get the power in November, they better do something. Because this guy's last acts are going to be terrible.
Oh, well, we better take a break on that note. And then, because they're going to beat me up from the control room, okay? So we're going to take a break for a couple minutes, and then we'll see how we're doing. And then we'll come back and talk about the stuff we're supposed to be talking about. To restart the show, we're back. Thanks for staying tuned and putting up with our bantering about all kinds of passionate stuff. Now, for your viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don that you're watching is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like my two guests here this evening. And like most of you out there, they are unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, either one of them, and we're witnessing that in this interview. And we'll be talking about whatever else comes to mind that seems like we're worth talking about. So we're going to start doing that right now and stop talking about personal stuff so much. So we had a list of things we wanted to talk about. Who's going to lead off in this second half of the show?
I'd like to start with one comment.
Of course.
Whatever you do, you may think this system is broken, but it's so important for you to go and put in your vote. You may not get the answers that you want, but if you make the effort, maybe we can overcome the terrible times that are here.
And getting worse.
Yes, I mean, we can't even say the word democracy anymore because it doesn't apply to us.
It doesn't mean anything. It's
the Constitution doesn't matter anymore because we have a tyrant sitting in the Oval Office who is totally ignorant about how government's supposed to work. It's just totally. I mean, I don't know how we got here.
I have an idea.
Yes.
Don't you know? Because the people elected them, even though it's a flawed democracy, and the people voted the way they voted because they're conditioned and taught how to vote because they're being manipulated to support the monopoly capitalistic system. So we gotta somehow start at the very beginnings and do what we can, and everybody can do something.
Well, we're technically in the state of fascism because the corporations have become the government. So that's the
Russia.
economic system and all encompassed. So we're there. People have to want to change. I mean, because there's a lot of terrible things happening that we don't even know
So
about.
they have to be informed so they can make an intelligent decision. An informed
But
decision.
it's important for them to go
Goebbels
vote.
was Parker Goebbels was a model for propagandizing and conditioning people on how to think.
Right.
You know what may be worse?
What?
Fascism, as Roberto just said, is the combining of the corporations and government
Yeah.
when they work in sync. So you think of Italy with Mussolini.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, Trump kind of looks like Mussolini.
Sometimes,
He
yeah.
holds that chin out. You know? I don't know what that is. You know?
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
anyway, Mussolini used to do that. What's worse, and what I fear, is the combination of the corporations and government and religion. That would be terrible.
Well, that's why we got.
worse.
That's why we got Pence in government. We got to be sure religion is in the forefront.
We're supposed to have separation of church and state. But what's going on now is Trump, the religious people, the fundamentalist people, are with him no matter what he does, no matter what he says. That scares me, and it may be worse than fascism. It may be the worst thing that we've ever seen, where you have the corporations and you have the government in sync, and then religion comes in. And religion is really scary because if you get to the fundamental thing and say God controls everything, and I answer to God, which a lot of people think, that is so scary if you take that and put it into the ball, that the fascism. I think it's worse. I think we're in for a worse time than the people suffered in Italy under Mussolini. Because if you start saying God condones torture, we just voted in a torturer to run the CIA.
Yeah.
The Senate said, we don't have a problem with that. It was a close vote.
And some of the Democrats supported it too.
Six.
So don't tell me about political
Six.
parties. They're two wings of the same party, the corporate party.
I know, but the Democrats do some good. They do. They stand for a lot of good. Merkley, our senator, I like Merkley. He stands there and says the stuff that I say and then goes fights for them. So I like Merkley.
Senator Merkley
So-
from Oregon.
And he's a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I belong to the Progressive Party of Oregon, but I'm really independent. So when I say there's parts of the Democratic Party that it's good, you know, they stand for equality, they stand for acceptance, they stand for transgender, they stand for
Standing for
not
something.
one thing that I said would the Republicans stand for. Nothing.
Standing for something means one thing, but what you do
No.
is
Now you're
walking
talking
the
about
talk.
cocktail liberals.
Walking the talk. Well, what do you think about Bernie Sanders? I got an email today from Bernie Sanders saying he's going to run again.
I think
And I sent him $50.
I think he should see a psychiatrist.
Well,
There's something wrong with somebody that's in his position that wants to run again. What he should
somebody's
do-
got to pick up the
What he should do is pick a younger guy, and that's what we have to do. Us old guys have to get out of the way. All right? And the most exciting thing that's going on in politics today is not coming from Washington, D.C., it's coming from Florida. Those kids that ran the programs that spread all across the country after the gun violence in Florida, all right, it's the most exciting thing to happen in a long time because they got a governor in Florida to do something, and he didn't want to do anything. Right? They got him to do something, and they did it, and they did it gently, and they did it with protest, they did it with nonviolence, and the kids all across the country started walking out of their schools and saying, these are not safe environments. We're not going to stay here. And it shook off very government to their foundations. I don't know if they'll succeed. But the next wave that comes, watch that one. And it's young people will change this country.
You think so?
Yes.
Somebody.
And as old people, we should get out of the way. And if they ask us for help, we should say, okay, this is what I know, but we should not lead it.
Roberto's not getting out of the way.
I have two comments. First, the irony of ironies is that Oliver North has become the CEO of the NRA. And that criminal, the Reagan years. Anyway, and the other comment that I have is that teachers are starting to rise up.
Oh, that's
Across
horrible
the
what they've been
country.
doing to them nationally for
Yeah.
years and years.
I mean, that's the basic core of your young people's upbringing, is going to school every day to the teachers. And then now you have also the fear of children going to school. What kind of system is that?
I want to interrupt something here because you're wearing that in and out with your nose.
Yeah.
Will you comment about that, what you're doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is oxygen, and it actually keeps me alive. So I can come off it, for 5 or 10 minutes sometimes.
Okay.
If I feel relaxed, and that's why you see me take it off. The popping sound tells me it's working. So I know that the oxygen, as I breathe in, you can hear the popping sound. And that allows me to know that I'm still okay. If I don't hear that sound, I have to check the bottle and see where I am.
Why do you need oxygen like that?
Well, I have asbestosis,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and I have, what do they call it? COPD.
COPD.
Yeah, from smoking. I smoked a long time. But I was also exposed to asbestos in the Navy because I was in engineering. So we were around the lagging and the stuff that they kept the pipes.
Yeah.
They wrap it around the pipe to keep them either cold or warm.
Yeah.
Most of the time they want the pipes, the injection temperature going into the machinery
Yeah.
has to be a certain temperature. So that's why they have a lot of lagging on all the pipes and stuff. And when I first went in the Navy in '62, and it was all asbestos, all of that stuff. And they didn't warn us, they didn't tell us. So we had it in our hair, we had it on our clothes, and it was everywhere. And then we would go up topside and smoke, which was really bad. So I've been on oxygen about 8 years. Hasn't slowed me down much, except for the last 6 months. And we've all been sick in Portland in the last 6 months. Me and Roberto talk on the phone. You're still sick?
Yeah, it's been a hard year.
So yeah, it's been a tough year on everybody.
Okay.
Very difficult for me, and slowed me down a lot.
Okay. So,
I haven't been to Russia in a long time.
all right. So we don't have much time left to talk about what we want to talk about. So let's take a few minutes to talk about this lovely lady here, or whatever else we're going to talk about.
This, I don't know if you can get a close shot on that, is Joanne Hardesty.
And she won. And she's in a runoff, huh?
Yes, she's in the runoff. She just won the most votes in the primary. She got 40% of the votes, I think.
The city
And-
council?
And for the city council.
Yeah.
And that's the one that Commissioner Salzman is leaving. So she's in a race with Loretta Smith, Commissioner Loretta Smith, who I also like. The great news is we're going to break the ceiling and have a black woman sit on the polling council for the first time. That's exciting in itself. Joanne is the one that I'm really pushing, endorsing, falling in love with, whatever you want to call it, because she not only says the stuff that I say, she does it.
Yeah.
She was the president of NAACP. She was also a representative that went to Salem. But she talks about police accountability, and then she goes fights for it. All right. So it's the thing that I demand from politicians is don't tell me what you're going to do. Let me watch what you do. And if you do good stuff, I will sing your praises from here to heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you don't, I'm coming after you. Whatever I got, I'm coming after you. All right? And I will still constantly come after you until you change your ways.
So that's why there's this ongoing conflict between you and the government of Portland.
Yeah, the government is not perfect, and I understand that. And I'm not asking for that. And it goes back to the word that we used before. Just try. If you convince me that you're trying to solve this problem, I will leave you alone. And I will sing your praises. This is really good stuff. I like this person. You know, what they're doing. But if you use sugar words and you just get up there and say, well, we all need housing and everybody should have their own little place and I'm going to fight and I'm going to spend all this money and do all this stuff. And then you do the traditional stuff that's failed for 40 years in the city, especially in the last 10. We had a 10-year plan.
So that applies to any metropolitan area in the country where we have this form of government, something's going on. You need to vote people in who are responsible, have social responsibility, and are for the people rather than the corporations.
Well, there are cities that have really made really good inroads. Salt Lake City does some interesting stuff.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. That's not exactly a radical city. No. It's under the Mormons, and it's very conservative. But they figured out if they keep somebody on the street, it costs so much money. It's about $14,000, $15,000. No, I think it's more than that. It's $18,000. Then they figured out, well, if we set them up in an apartment someplace, all right, how much does that cost? And they said $14,000. So they said, wait a minute, you're telling me that this person on the street is costing us more than if we put them in an apartment and gave them all the services that they need? And they said, yes. Here's the reason why. Person on the street, when they arrest them, costs a lot of money. You have to feed them.
Yeah.
You have to put them in jail. You have to take care of them. You have to take them to court. You tie up the judge's time. You tie up the clerk's time. You tie up the marshal's time. Tie up everybody's time. Person's on the street. Ambulance comes, picks them up, takes them to the hospital. Costs a lot of money. They spend 3 or 4 days in the hospital. Costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I know. I go to the hospital once in a while, and it's very expensive. Put them in a program, and then they go back to the street. Doesn't work. It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the Mormons
the bean counters sat there in Salt Lake City and said, okay, we got to get them in shelters anyway. I'm not crazy about shelters. I think the end product's got to be their own little area. Everybody's entitled to their own area where they can at least put their stuff, you know, and that's very important to the homeless. They have all this stuff. That's why they have the push carts. The reason for the push carts is that they move. They get swept by the city. So they need to move the stuff, and they just can't call a truck because they have no money.
What are you going to do about the homeless? You know, my mantra is we can talk about what's wrong,
Yeah.
but we need to talk about what we're going to do about what's wrong to have things go the other direction. We've got to do more than just
You
talk
need-
about what's wrong.
You need a big round table.
Yeah?
At that table, do not put any professionals, none. The first thing you should not do is put professionals at that table. What you need is a group of people that are living on the street or have been on the street recently. Okay, you need a representation of that.
Okay.
And then you need a representation of the city people that got the money. Okay. Then you need a representation of the bean counters. And then you need a representation of activists. And the activists are going to be the biggest pain in the butts. But that's what you need at the table. You got programs that work. The micro housing works. All you need is the land and to put the houses on them, and you have communities set up. You have to figure out security. You have to do a lot of stuff. R2D2 did it, so we know it works. All right. But it's very hard to put your name on those little houses, and that's what politicians love. They like the big buildings that cost $10 million, $50 million with their name on it. The Clark Center, Wheeler Center, Hale Center. That's and the other thing that's stopping it is the nonprofits.
You've only got a couple of minutes
Okay, let me
left
say this one thing because it's important.
because you want a couple more issues.
You have the nonprofits.
Uh-huh.
They have two basic rules in nonprofits. One is to serve the clients, whoever the clients are,
Sure.
whatever you're doing. The second one is to survive. That's the one they get into trouble with. In order to survive, they have to expand. They spend more money. They spend more administrative money. So as they spend all this money up here, down here, the person on the street gets very little.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's very hard for people to understand because nonprofits normally have a good reputation.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, no, they don't. And you have to be careful with nonprofits. Some of them are wonderful. Some of them are just out for themselves. And if you work with them, after a while, you start to get to know them. Say, wow, how can you be making $100,000 and you're trying to get people off the street? What is that? All right? And that's what the guy that's in charge of housing for the county and the city combined, they call it the combined housing entity or something like that. He's handling millions of dollars. And he gets paid over $100,000 a year. Drives me crazy.
All right. Now, what else are you going to talk about before they shut us out? Roberto, save us. We're ranting.
Well, this activist here is
Yeah.
the kind of person that taps an admiral on the shoulder and says, I have concerns about a person, fellow Navy person in the brig. Can I ask you about that? What admiral was that?
The Admiral Zumwalt.
Oh, Zumwalt. Yeah.
He was the chief of naval operations.
So that
Yeah,
tells
yeah,
you
yeah.
how,
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, that's just something that I had to say because that's the kind of person he is.
And he got him out next day. He
So-
did.
But, I just think that we have to get better people in office. It's a hard stretch, but people like Joanne who are giving up their life to do stuff with, for good.
Yeah.
And stuff are the kind of people we need there. And young people who are, just starting out and who understand from the ground up the things that are going on to them today, and they can take that young energy into the office.
Okay, one more question. How long is Trump going to last? Will he make it through the second year, or will he go to the midterms, or will he be impeached?
No impeachment.
I think he'll resign. I think if he loses the Republicans in the House, if the Republicans lose the House in November, there's a lot of speculation that that's going to happen. If that happens, they will not call for impeachment. Nancy Pelosi, who will become the Speaker of the House,
Yeah.
has already said no impeachment. We spent 2 years outside of Blumenau's office one time, and he's our congressman, and he wouldn't call for impeachment of Bush when he invaded Iraq. 2 years we spent out there. Would never use the word impeachment. DeFazio did, Congressman DeFazio actually did. I was on a radio station when he did it. And somebody called in and said, DeFazio just said, they will not impeach him, he will resign. Because he's going to lose his base. And when that religious base turns, it's going to be ugly.
Okay. Now you only got about 30 seconds to tell the viewers whatever you want to tell them, because then they're going to have to stop.
Go ahead.
This Dr. Don show is a great thing. This is good for the community, gets information out to everybody. So we come back whenever he needs us, right?
You betcha. Okay, Lone Bat, lay it on the viewers.
I would just ask you to register to vote and vote. It is really sad that we had 25%. I know this is an awful election and all that stuff. Please vote.
Yes, vote, and thank you for coming on again. Put your pen down.
All right.
See you guys
It
soon.
was delightful.
Thank you very much. All right, I hope you had a good time. I had a good time, and thanks for watching. Remember KFC, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind, be friendly, and be charitable. To you too, and to you, and to you, and you too. We will see you next time. Thanks again.